The ego really is our defense against our own insecurities, because we're feeling insecure. Now we try to control the other. We do it in our relationships, we do it at work, we do it all over the place. But if we become aware that that control is actually stifling the other human being and actually dismantling the intimacy in your relationship, then you will be able to move forward.
We are Gold Ivy.
Our mission is to empower you to own and unleash your truth.
Stories of resiliency are gold, and ivy grows in hard places.
Those hard places are what creates space for light to shine through.
You decide what works for your daily life and how to transform our lessons into your gold.
This is Ivy Unleashed,
a Gold Ivy production.
This episode is a dream.
I can't even believe that just happened.
We just recorded with the one and only Dr. Shefali.
Dr. Shefali's work is revolutionary. She is changing generations of traumatic abuse and the way that parents discipline, and she's basically Oprah's best friend. And we are so honored today and so happy for you, the listener, that you get access to Dr. Shefali on Ivy Unleashed.
She talks all about conscious parenting, but don't be fooled. If you're not a parent, this still applies to you. It applies to you so much.
Yes. And she just really, she talked about her own experience, and she is just huge in the world right now. And the way that she was so humble and really gave us some advice for ourselves and for you as the listeners. This episode is so beautiful, and we're honored that you get to hear from Dr. Shefali today. So buckle up, do a little happy dance, because now you get access to the one and only Dr. Shefali. Welcome back to Ivy Unleashed. Today might be the biggest day of my career, Brooke's career. Today, I'm just going to start off. We have Dr. Shefali in the house. Welcome to Ivy Unleashed.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be here with you.
This is so surreal. I just want to take in this moment. Dr. Shefali is an author, a parenting expert. She has helped people break generational trauma. We're going to be talking about this beautiful book, The Parenting Map, but so many other things too, because not everybody that listens is a parent. And really, what I learned from reading this book is that these lessons are really about relationships, because anytime you have issues, or these stories you have about your patients or clients that come to you, the issue is their kid, but it ends up not being their kid at all. It ends up being, we have to dig deeper into ourselves. And your book, The Radical Awakening, I had to read each page twice just to even understand what you were trying to tell me to decondition, but you do such a beautiful job of helping people peel the onion and understand that our kids are not trying to do anything to us. They're not trying to be difficult. They are trying to just have an emotion, and anything that happens that's negative from there is on us. And so thank you for writing the books you've written. You are transforming the world. We are so happy you're here.
Thank you. Thank you. I think, you hit the nail on the head by saying that, when we parents fail to understand that children are just being children, then we, put onto them all our stuff. I remember one time I told my 4 or 5-year-old daughter, stop playing games with me, because in my head, she was some evil manipulating person. And she was like, oh, let's play a game. And I realized, wow, I'm just putting all these adult constructs onto her, because I'm living in such woundedness that I'm even not able to see an innocent 4-year-old as who she is. I was making her something because I was living in victimhood. So in all these ways, we parents especially, because children are so young when we have them, they're young, they're pure, they're absorbent, they're innocent. We just use them as our dumping grounds. With other adults, we don't do it so much because they can use us too. But children don't know how to do that back to us. So it's like a one-way street of constant dumping. And that's what I'm trying to break in all my books.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it takes courage to go there. I love how you start the parenting map talking about to own this, takes courage to dive deep into your own childhood issues that a lot of people aren't even awoken to. Like, a lot of people are just walking around really thinking they are the boss of their kids. They have the right to do whatever they want to their kids. And this book, I love how direct you are, but also give the tangible tools to help you through this. But before we get to all of that, we want to talk about you a bit, because you are a superstar. You're like Oprah's bestie. She's got her arm around you holding your book, and the books you've written have changed the world. And so us as business owners and women and parents, like, we're just so curious about you and what it feels like to have such revolutionary work. Like, how does it feel to be you?
Dre, tell the people as fast as you can why Move with Gold Ivy is the last mind-body fitness program they'll ever have to buy, and how women are finally getting the transformation they're looking for.
I love a challenge. Let's go. 2 big things. 1, Move provides a fun atmosphere to work out in that actually gets you excited to show up and follow through with your goals. Not only is there an element of fun, but we've carefully curated a program that makes it as easy as possible for women to take care of themselves. And 2, a Move membership addresses every aspect of your health, mind and body. Our Move members are getting the physical transformation they've been hoping for and feeling like they've finally found the group that motivates them on a daily basis. What did I miss?
As a Move member, you receive a weekly workout plan, weekly live or Zoom workouts, an on-demand workout library, transformational quarterly reset challenges, monthly coaching calls, monthly masterminds with health experts, and a private group of motivated members for support and accountability.
It's ready for you when you're ready to boost your metabolism, confidence, and feel your absolute best. Join Move or learn more by clicking the link in the show notes, clicking the link in our bio on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, or by messaging us on any social channel at Gold Ivy Health Co.
It's your time. Move for your health, move for your confidence, move for your mental clarity, move with Gold Ivy. Dre, your house smells like a spa.
Well, thank you.
What is that smell?
It's my Rosemary Mint all-purpose surface cleaning spray from the Clean Nest. I met these 2 female entrepreneurs that are actually sisters from Minnesota. After 10 years of owning and managing a successful, all-natural cleaning business, they decided to create their own all-purpose cleaning spray, and I am so happy I found it. Katie and Angela are passionate about creating clean, beautiful spaces for all families and keeping their home and earth environment clean for future generations.
So it's non-toxic, because these products we use in our homes and breathe in directly affect our health. Our hormones and gut health are affected by toxic overload.
Yes, it's non-toxic, which is so important in a home with little ones as well. Their products are created using truly clean and safe ingredients, no greenwashing. They use only pure essential oils, which are known for their disinfecting properties. I use it on mirrors, windows, countertops, even granite, sinks, stovetops, the microwave, dusting, spills, and messes throughout my house, interior of my car, toilets, you name it. They also have lemon mandarin and fresh basil scents.
My condo needs to smell like this. So how do I get my hands on the Clean Nest?
Well, they ship anywhere in the U.S., and lucky for you, they're offering Ivy Unleashed listeners 10% off any order with the promo code GOLDIVY. They also always offer free shipping on any order over $100. So head on over to thecleannest.com for your all-purpose cleaning spray and make cleaning more enjoyable.
You know, when you're so ordinary as I am, it's just like I don't walk around with this grandiose sense of myself, because I'm so ordinary. If you lived with me, you'd be like, oh, I get it. I get why you have no idea how amazing your work is, because I'm just here to, live my best life and help people. So I don't necessarily have this idea of myself as anything special. And anyway, I know that when people like you or others express their admiration or their gratitude, it's because the message has moved them. So I'm so grateful to be a part of that change and transformation. But I know it's not me. It's you who has connected to the message. I mean, I happen to be the one who transmitted the message, but it's really between you and the message. And I just happen to be the loudspeaker or the spokesperson. And similarly, when people then don't like me, which also happens quite a lot, or don't like the message, I understand it's not personal. It's because they and the message didn't get along, right? So I try to keep it in perspective, both the positive and the negative.
Yeah, you talk a lot about manifesting. And so I'm curious, did you manifest this? Years ago, did you see this all happening?
Well, I'm not a foreteller, but did I want Oprah? Yes. And and I used to talk about it all the time, and I used to wait for her phone number, 312, when she used to be in Chicago. And then I got the phone and I saw it and I was like, that's it. That's it. I knew before it even happened. But did I manifest it? Yes. By talking about it? Yes. I had Oprah on my lips all the time, but I also knew that everybody else has Oprah on her lips. So don't think you're so special. I knew I had to keep doing the work. I knew I wanted to be an author. That I knew for sure. I wanted Oprah, but I knew that was my greed and my obsession. And I just kept marching. I think that's what people need to do, is just keep marching forward. If you get the Oprahs of the world, fabulous. But if you don't, that doesn't mean you stop doing the work. I can't believe it, right? I was so lucky to actually have her. And every time I'm with her, I'm in shock. But I do believe that even if she had not come into my life, I would have kept doing the work. And I will tell you, I've been on her Super Soul many times, right? But that's not because I'm just lucky. It's because I keep doing the work. So I keep having books, which she keeps picking up, but I have to write those books. So what I mean by that is you have to keep producing work that gets out there. How will people talk about you or know about you if you're just sitting silently in your home, or you just wrote one thing, right? You have to keep putting it out. And I think that's the hard part for people, because they want the gain, they want the goal to be achieved, and they don't want to do the process, but the process is the key, and you have to keep showing up. And I think that's the hard part for people.
Yes. Oh, thank you for putting it that way, because I think that is so important. It's the value you put out into the world. And to me, just being familiar with your work, your value is your honesty, and you're not trying to befriend your readers. You're trying to give them the truth that this is something we can't ignore. And if you do, you're not going to have a relationship with your kids or whoever, because you're not listening. You're not being present. I was tested this morning. I had a kid that didn't want to put a shirt on. I had a kid whose feelings I hurt that wouldn't tell me what was wrong. And I was like, thank God I read this book this week, because I had to really be present and practice these skills. And I'm so thankful that you put it in a book in a way that we can understand ourselves. We can put it into practice. We can have other people's stories of how they come to you and they're like, my kid's a problem. This is happening and this is happening. And they don't want me to coach their kids, or they're not listening, or the codependency, or fill in the blank, the way that you give examples and the way that you tell your patients or clients you're the problem. And they don't hear you right away, but then you help them hear that we have to do this digging. And so the biggest thing that I learned is that we are control freaks. You even called yourself one as a parent, and that you had to undo that. And so we really want to get into control, that you discuss at great length, and how you get people to have those aha moments and recognize, wow, I'm trying to control this whole operation. Like, how do you help people get to those answers?
Well, parents are so defensive, right? You cannot tell a parent that it's their fault right off the bat. No one could tell me when I was a young mother it was me. And if they did dare to do that, I wouldn't talk to them much anymore, because we're so proud of our parenting, especially mothers. We take it very seriously, and that's the problem. We've enmeshed our identity with that of being the mother. And whenever we put all our eggs in one basket, like we do in motherhood, we're going to be miserable, because we're going to weigh our worth based on how the child reacts to us. So when parents come to me, it's not easy. I go very slowly and delicately. But the way to get in to the parent is two ways. One, their child is in so much pain that the parent has no choice now but to maybe change themselves, right? Because you can keep bashing your child and keep saying, it's you, it's you, it's you. But at some point, the child is going to collapse and you have only two choices, either keep blaming them or look at yourself. So when children are in a lot of pain, I appreciate that because I know it's an opportunity for parents to wake up. And the second way that parents typically wake up is when I show them how they were in pain in their childhood. And when I show them how much pain they had in childhood, that's a way to get them to connect. Most of us have been in pain since childhood, but we've overcompensated for it. And we've become super amazing or super successful, or we're just, drowning in our addictions. But we think we've managed. So when I begin to show a human that, no, you haven't managed, you've just compensated, and you are still in pain. And if a parent can get in touch with their pain from childhood, that's the inroad into showing them that their child is in pain as well.
Yeah. And this is all about connection. And we can't truly connect unless we're aware of these things. I think a lot of people avoid going there because it's painful. And you have to own your stuff. Like, I had to own that I'm a litigator and I like to have the last word. And I feel like what I have to say to my kids is very important and they should hear my opinion. And I'm like, shit.
It's like dropping the ego.
Yes.
And that's what you talk a lot about, Dr. Shefali. So how do we drop the ego? Because I'm even thinking about our listeners who aren't mothers, who are healing and coming into a new world of putting themselves first or whatever they may be going through, and the ego still plays a hand in their life too.
The Boundary Boss did it again. Terry Cole created something that every person on the planet needs because it will help their relationships and peace of mind exponentially. It's the Boundary Boss Workbook, the right words and strategies to free yourself from burnout, exhaustion, and overgiving.
Boundaries are necessary and a beautiful part of relationships if you have the tools and support to create and express them. I don't know about you, but setting boundaries, even though I know they're necessary, can be anxiety-provoking because I know I could potentially make someone uncomfortable.
In the Boundary Boss Workbook, you'll have Terry holding your hand in the process of understanding different types of boundaries and integrating them into your life to help you have stronger relationships and be able to show up authentically and at peace.
I'm using it to set more effective boundaries, and it's helping me protect my energy and set boundaries without guilt no matter who I'm around. Terry provides mindfulness practices, customizable scripts, mindset shifts, even fun games to help you understand yourself and effectively communicate your boundaries.
I'm using the workbook to create awareness of my rigid boundaries, and I'm using Terry's self-care tools to help me feel more at ease. The workbook is full of exercises that help me understand how I'm trying to protect myself and gives me more loving ways to communicate my needs.
You don't have to set boundaries alone. Help yourself out with effectively understanding and communicating your boundaries, and lean on the best tool out there.
Snag your copy of the Boundary Boss Workbook by clicking the link in the show notes or head to boundarybossworkbook.com today.
Today's episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Every episode of Ivy Unleashed is dedicated to empowering you to take ownership of your health. And what it really comes down to is prioritizing your mental health.
We've both seen the beauty and growth that therapy can bring and are thrilled to partner with BetterHelp to allow you the opportunity to feel heard and seen by a professional. The National Alliance on Mental Health reports that 155 million people live in a designated mental health professional shortage area, and BetterHelp is working to close that gap.
I've personally used BetterHelp and loved it because it was all online, making it super convenient. The biggest piece for me was how affordable it is. I was able to choose the therapist that met my needs. I came in with wanting to work on childhood trauma and anxiety, and it was unbelievable to see how many options I had with all the different backgrounds of therapists.
With BetterHelp, you have access to a network of over 30,000 licensed and experienced therapists. Therapy is all about deepening your self-awareness. And sometimes we can't see our own patterns and behaviors until we talk them out and get an unbiased perspective.
It's really nice to have someone who doesn't know you and has the professional background to help you thrive in your daily life. It has made the world of a difference with every relationship in my life, including the one with myself.
To get started, all you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire about your needs and preferences and choose your therapist out of the options they give you. You can talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or video call. Also, you can switch therapists at no additional charge until you find the right fit for you.
The best investment you can make is in yourself. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/goldivy. That's betterhelp.com/goldivy.
Take the first step to inner peace and freedom today. And now back to the show.
Right. In any intimate relationship, I mean, in any moment in life, the ego can roar, but it roars really loudly in intimate relationships. And imagine with a kid who cannot fight back, the ego is like having a party. So the ego really is our defense against our own insecurities, because we're feeling insecure. Now we try to control the other. We do it in our relationships, we do it at work, we do it all over the place. But if we become aware that that control is actually stifling the other human being and actually dismantling the intimacy in your relationship, then you will be able to move forward. But here's what happens. Mostly we are with other adults who are also unconscious. So if they happen to be in a relationship with us and we're controlling and they're controlling, then you have a shit show. If you're controlling and they're not controlling, then you just have a skewed relationship where one's ego is winning, like a narcissist and an empath, and that's not healthy. And eventually that relationship will break down. And then with your children, because they don't have a full ego yet, your ego is totally roughshoding over them and micromanaging them and disempowering them from getting to know their own liberation, to getting to know their own inner wisdom. And that's not healthy either. So what's beautiful about working from ego is that eventually it'll all fall apart. It's just a matter of when. Mm-hmm. And if you're very intellectual and clever, it'll take longer because you're more resourceful. You can hide behind books or the computer or money or your success. So it takes a little longer with really super successful, super functional looking people. But functional people are not necessarily healthy people. They're not healed people. They're just super achieving and competent. But it will fall apart. I am a therapist and I've seen with everybody, including my own marriage, fell apart because I was the prototypical narcissist carrying all the weight on my shoulder till I broke. And I wrote about it in my book, A Radical Awakening. And I don't see that as a negative or a failure. I see it as the inevitable and necessary breaking down of the ego. In fact, when people don't have big tumultuous curves in their life, I worry because you cannot live this life without an ego, and you cannot live this life without the ego totally messing you up at some point. And the sooner, actually, the better, because like both of you have learned, you're healing. And how amazing is that?
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think too, as we do this work, you just touched on it, that we're trying to, as parents, become eventually irrelevant, which the ego fights that big time because it wants to be the important parent that's managing the situation, that it knows best and listen to me and I gave birth to you and all these things. And I love how you break this down in the book. And ultimately, you've said that you're trying to help them trust their inner wisdom or their inner voice. And I would love for you to touch on why that's so important that we help build that as a parent.
Well, if you look at your life as an adult, especially if you're a woman, if you're honest, that you have struggled with executing, activating, instigating your own inner empowerment, your inner governance, your inner leadership. We women, both culturally and then self-induced, have suppressed our inner wisdom so much. We have such fear around playing big, around showing up, around owning our authority and our mistakes. And really taking charge of our lives to the extent we can. And all of that we learned in our earliest years. So we as women who are waking up need to know better than anyone else how important it is to be given the space to experiment, to find out, to discover our voice. And what happens in parenting, because it is so controlling, that not only do children not get to discover and find out and experiment and practice in childhood their own voice, what happens is we completely, as parents, suffuse their inner voice. We just take over because we do know better. But just because we know better doesn't mean we have to show it up as always the all-knowing one. So if your child says, "What should I wear?" and the child is 4 years old, that's an amazing opportunity to go, "I don't know," and be dumb, right? One of my clients, a mother, said to me, "Dr. Shefali, you're just telling me to be so quiet and not know so much. What, I should just be an idiot?" I said, yes, if that's how you want to phrase it. What I want from parents is to stop showing up as the all-knowing one, because just because you have the years ahead of you, ahead of your child, doesn't mean you just give the opinion. And in all little and small but powerful ways, we can hand over the baton of self-knowing to our children. So what are we eating for dinner? You're like, "I don't know," right? I mean, don't be an incompetent ignoramus and burn your house down, but in little ways, try to give them the baton. "I don't know. What do you think?" "I don't know. What do you think?" And that activates the child's own inner resources and inner responsibility. It's good if your child, to some degree, feels like mom is going to say, "I don't know." But you see, our ego wants to know. Our ego wants to be seen as, "I got it. I got it. I'm going to fix everything." I'm one of the fixer parents in the book. You're a litigator, which is part of the fighter group, but I'm a fixer. So I, thought I was being so good. But what I was doing was just wanting to be seen as good. And actually, I was doing a lot of harm because I was robbing my child of their ability to manage themselves. And even today, my daughter's 21, she'll say to me, "Mom, you're treating me like I'm a 5-year-old. And then my ego will get offended and wounded. "Oh, I was just trying to help," right? Because I don't want to look in the mirror and go, she's right. I'm infantilizing her right now.
Yeah, I think about that control, and that's when we're focusing on the outcome, which you speak of being outcome oriented versus process oriented. When we think about process, living in the moment, trusting, this idea of trusting, how have you in your own life put that into practice and helped your clients put that into practice as well?
Well, again, as a woman, I've realized that I did not trust my voice, because I wasn't told I was good enough, and I believed that. So I know how important it is, even if I screw up the next moment, to trust my inner voice. And I train myself and I train my clients and the women I work with, especially, and the children I work with. Look inside yourself. What do you feel? What does your body need? What are you thinking right now? What are you feeling? Lean into it. And by training that muscle of looking inward versus immediately pouncing out of our bodies and looking for the other to approve of us, we learn more and more to go with that flow. And if you've lived long enough, you begin to realize, all the times I didn't go with my inner knowing, I kind of messed it up because I was doing it against my own temperament, my own basic nature. You have to do things ultimately according to your own nature, even if it's the most stupid thing according to your partner or your mother or your father. You're like, "Sorry, I cannot do it your way," because ultimately we have to live with ourselves. So I teach my daughter all the time, "Listen, you have to live with you. I'm not living with you. You have to live with you. So if you're okay with you, that makes perfect sense to me. I'm not the one going to live with you. So you cannot buy furniture or cutlery or clothes that make me happy. You have to live with yourself and sleep in your own bed." So when a parent is fulfilled in their own life, that's when they can let go of their children and their children's decisions, their children's moods. But if the parent is not fulfilled in their life, then they're going to enmesh with their children and want to live vicariously through their children.
Yes. And if I could emphasize anything, it's just read all of your books, because the way you talk us through how to do this is so powerful. A lot, we just don't know how to decondition ourselves or learn these things. And, as a parent, you have these, you yell or you explode or you do something that you're like, God, you're frustrated or you're tired or whatever, stinking enough sleep. But in your book, you explain like these explosions or this yelling, like that has absolutely nothing to do with them. That is all you. And I do think there's one way of going, and you could be really critical of yourself. And I am completely guilty of this, that multiple times at night, a week, I'll be like, God, I could have been more patient. I could have been more this. I could have been more that. And you have a section in your book that put me in my place. They put the N word on it. You said it's narcissistic to have guilt about your parenting tactics because you're not digging deep enough into what the real problem is within you. And so I would love for you to talk about that mom guilt or the shame that we have, and how, basically your opinion on that.
Well, I'll make it more general, right? So, and I'll use my own example and scapegoat myself. So, for example, when I went through my divorce, the thing that stopped me was this guilt, like I should have known better. I should have done that differently. How could I do that? Right? So whenever we look back at life and go, oh my goodness, right? We have regret, we have guilt. And why I call it narcissism is because there's an underlying presumption that I should not have done those things. Like, so when I used to tell myself, oh, how could you have done those stupid things or whatever, those mistakes you made in your marriage, there's a presumption when I'm beating myself that me, Shefali, should have done better. And there's a narcissism in our guilt. Like, I should have known better. I should never be like other parents and yell at my kid, or I should not have fallen in love with that guy or done that career or whatever. But the truth is, and here's where the narcissism can leave us, is that we're very ordinary and we're very average, and we make the same bloody mistakes as every person we judge out there. So stop pretending like you shouldn't have made that mistake and you deserved a better relationship or a better child or a better mother. You should have been a better mother. No, you were that mother because you are pretty ordinary. And once you accept that, you're like, oh yeah, of course I was a total, silly girl with an ego, but you do it with compassion, right? You don't swing from guilt to then shaming yourself. You stay in the healthy acknowledgement that you're a human. And I think that's our big folly as mothers, especially, and women, that we should, first career should be the best career, first marriage, first relationship, first child, first time doing this, we should be the best. And that puts a lot of pressure on us. And we need to just get rid of it and instead realize that the mistakes have brought us to this doorstep of a great awakening, right? How can we alchemize the mistakes? So all my mistakes are alchemized into my books, because I use my mistakes to grow and I use my mistakes to teach other people. But I never, can rest in the delusion to think that I will not make more mistakes. And if anyone out there is riddled with guilt, they need to understand that hidden in there is a lot of presumption about your superiority, that you should have been superior when you were just ordinary. And it's okay to be ordinary. I haven't met a single extraordinary human except Oprah.
There it is.
I mean, she really is extraordinary. I mean, she is, I tell her all the time without sounding like a gushing. And why is she extraordinary is because she has worked on herself. Mm-hmm. She has healed herself. She is in service. She is in gratitude. She doesn't pretend to be someone else. And that's what I'm trying to teach other women. Look at your models and emulate them. Mm-hmm. And that's why when I'm on stage, I'm never preaching from a pulpit. really down with the rest of the people because I am absolutely 100% exactly like the other parent. The only difference is that I'm learning to grow faster. That's all. Because I'm not wrapping myself and wasting time in guilt. I'm like, yes, you were fucked up. You were ordinary. You were a human being. Let's learn. And I just move on. And that's the difference between somebody who stays in the panic and the guilt and somebody who rises up and uses that.
Mm-hmm. And that's why you're such a role model to us, because we always say the only difference is we're not choosing to stay stuck. We are acknowledging this inner child. We are doing the work and we are growing, and we're inviting everyone else to come with us so they can do it themselves.
Yeah.
And one thing that's been super powerful for us that you speak so highly of is meditation. So I'm curious for us and our listeners, how you've seen meditation change your life and your clients too.
So there are two parts to meditation. One is the practice of meditation, and one is the philosophy of meditation. And you have to get both to get the maximum impact.
Okay.
So the practice of meditation is the most amazing practice where you take a pause, you learn to sit in silence, you learn to observe your thoughts, and you learn to see that your thoughts are not you. You get to choose your thoughts, and you get to be the minder of your mind. So it teaches you so much. But the philosophy of meditation is really more powerful, which is really what all my work is based on, really, which is present moment living and the understanding that the self that we so attach to is really irrelevant or impermanent. And when you understand that and understand that you are dying every moment, you live more greatly in the moment, in the here and now, and you also don't take yourself too seriously. And therefore, you have less ego. So the true art of dismantling your ego doesn't come from just psychological counseling. It also comes from a meditation practice.
I love that. And have you, like, I keep thinking of, okay, I'm going to keep growing. I'm going to keep trying to shed this ego, but I feel like I'm always having these needs of validation, right? Of like knowing like someone, because I'm like a words of affirmation person. Is that going to go away? Like the more I meditate and the more I get into like shedding this ego, am I going to need that less? Because I keep thinking this is who I am, but maybe that's something that over time you need less when you're doing this inner work.
Well, you have to keep challenging yourself to need it less, right? So the ego still shows up, right? Like if I post something amazing on Instagram, but like 2 people liked it, I'm like, what the hell, right? So I have to then I have to challenge myself to do the work. So don't like, I know you're not, but I remind myself and others to not be complacent. You know, just because you did the meditation, check. Just because you read the books, check. Doesn't mean the ego is not going to constantly show up, and you have to do the work to undo it and say, ego, stop it. You posted it on Instagram not to get the praise. You did it for yourself. You did it because you wanted to do it. That's your reward. Now be quiet, right? So you have to constantly check your ego. You have to be in a constant watch out for the ego. Never, even for an hour, has my ego not shown up. I mean, I can't even say even for 15 minutes. Even while I'm talking to you, I'm checking my hair out. That's ego. I'm checking the scenery out. That's ego. I'm checking, am I talking okay, looking okay? How are you guys? All ego, but I'm watching it. Mm-hmm. So the ego will never go away. And the person who says, I'm conscious, is really unconscious, right? So you have to always watch that bloody ego. It's right here. Mm-hmm. It's literally right here next to you.
Yeah, it's your relationship with it. That's what I keep hearing you say, is you know that it's there. It's not going anywhere, but how are you letting that dictate how you're acting, how you're living?
Yes, I love it. And I just want to emphasize too that to do this work, like Radical Awakening is a very long book, and it's long for a reason, because this is a lot of undoing, a lot of understanding that we're kind of on, what's it called? Like cruise control. Like we're just going with the motions. We don't realize we're doing it. Autopilot. Yeah. Where you're helping us understand that there's this richness to life, to understand ourselves and understand what's happening around us so that we can have more joy. I think when we're on this autopilot, it's like, I look at people that haven't done any inner work and I'm like, you don't even understand yourself. You don't even know what you need, right? And so we drown it with alcohol or with TV or whatever the numbing device is. And so I'm so happy that you've written these books and that you keep doing this work. And I would just love people to know where to find you, where to find your books, the best place to go, and how they can follow you.
Thank you. So I will give a shout out to what I think is one of my best books, which is what you talked about, A Radical Awakening. It's really a book for every human, but definitely women. And it's a long book, but I wrote it really fast because it just came out of me after my divorce and my renaissance. And it's a testament to how women can get through pain and really alchemize it to their highest potential. And I speak with an honesty there and a self-reflection and a self-awareness that, I think is important for people to absorb. And then my latest book is The Parenting Map. That's for parents. So they can find me on Instagram under Dr. Shefali. And my website is drshefali.com. I have a coaching institute. I coach people to do the work I do and help others in the world. So if people want to become a coach, they can explore my institute. I have lots of courses on relationships, on healthy eating, all sorts of things, and of course, parenting.
Yes. Thank you for doing the work and sharing your work. I know Radical Awakening has helped me so much. I'm not a parent yet, but that has helped me. And now when I do hopefully someday become a parent, I feel so held by you and your work. And I know that I'm going to be a conscious parent because I'm going to keep reading your books and everything that you keep putting out. I'm just going to devour it. So thank you for being you. We're so grateful for this time. And we wrap up our show with the same 3 segments. So the first one is 3 gold stars. So 3 top takeaways you would leave our listeners with today.
Well, that everything happens to you for you to see your own wounds, and every painful moment can be a moment of greater growth and awakening and disruption of generations of patterns. So don't be daunted by pain. The second takeaway is that your children are here to just be themselves. They don't need to be superstars. They don't need to be, going to the best schools. That is not going to make them feel fulfilled. Their self-awareness and self-knowledge is the best gift you can give them. And the third thing I would say, just in terms of all relationships, that relationships are not here for your peace of mind necessarily. They're not here for longevity. They're really here to catapult you into the best self you can be and really to enter a relationship with yourself.
Oh, so beautiful. Mic drop. All right. And we always do 3 questions we're just curious of that we didn't really plan ahead. And mine has to do with one of your latest reels just hit me in the heart. I was like, damn it, Shefali. You were like, if you're a parent, you're going to mess it up. Stop trying to be perfect. And I would just love you to hit home why we're all going to mess this up and how every parent's always messed it up and the importance of understanding that.
Because mess is life, right? And even the word mess it up has such judgment to it. Mm-hmm. There's just no way you're not going to say the wrong thing at least 25 times a week. There's just no way. So the point is not to look for this utopic, again, peace of mind, perfection, happy, because you drive yourself crazy. You need to go, okay, here we are, and now let's dig ourselves out of this hole. And when you don't resist the pain still comes, but it comes less and stays less. So half of our problem is that we're resisting the pain in our lives. Like, how can you have a bad mood? How can you be upset with me? How could you say that to me? They already said it. They already did it, right? So that's done. So present moment living allows us to understand, okay, we had a glitch. Let's clean it up. And expecting humans to not have glitches constantly is really an infantile fantasy. It's like a Cinderella fantasy.
So good. Okay, my question, what piece of advice would you give the woman who isn't a mother yet, but someday would love to be?
She should really, really, really think hard and think deep and make sure she is with a partner who is doing his or her work and is, going to read these books. Make sure that your partner reads conscious parenting books and you interview your partner's mother and you do the work because you think you know your partner. You don't know your partner as a parent. It's a whole different animal. And you don't know yourself as a parent. So don't rush into it. Don't have 15 children in the first, quick moment. Take your time. I have only one. One is enough. One is enough. If you want to add two, go ahead, but do it at your own risk. And don't have a fantasy about how this is going to be because it is so hard.
I love that. And last question, Dr. Shefali, if you could go back to your younger self and tell her something, what age would she be and what would you tell her?
Oh my God. She wouldn't listen, but I would tell her, you are, you are so trying to fix everybody and save everybody that you will drown. And if you don't get some big girl pants on and grow some boundaries, you are going to just, mess it all up, which I eventually did in many ways, because I did not have boundaries. And I was so caught up in being the good one, that I forgot about myself. But, these are things you can't tell a young person. They are only the trial by fire and pain will get us out of our patterns. No matter what anyone had told me, I wouldn't have listened. So I have no regret. And I really think pain is phenomenal because it burns the ego. I thought I was really a good person. I didn't see it as my ego. And I was so confused. And I wouldn't have it any other way, because it couldn't be any other way. What it was exactly the way it was supposed to be. And I've made complete peace with it. And I encourage everyone to make peace with it because it cannot be any other way other than what it was. So regretting and going, I wish I had done that. I wish it is a fool's errand. We have to accept it was precisely the way it was to bring you precisely to this moment. And you have to find the beauty in it. You have to own your story and stop moping, that it wasn't the way you wanted.
Yeah. I heard you say putting boundaries in place. And I'm just curious, before we sign off, what is the greatest boundary you've put in place looking back?
Ooh, good question.
Several. One is, only give help when people truly ask for it and they're begging for it, right? So I'm like, if they're not paying me, I'm not opening my mouth. So I have to shut my mouth a lot because I want to help everybody. And I want to fix everybody. So I'm like, if they haven't booked a session, don't open your mouth. Because I think I know everything. The ego thinks it knows everything. Mm-hmm. Number two, I have only now made a rule to be in relationship with other givers and not with takers. So I go, oh, taker, bye-bye. Because the giver in me is like, oh, I'm so excited. I get to give you and you get to take. And I have to really control my giver. And I've created a boundary that do not give unless you are receiving. And the third one is just to learn to say no, and not feel apologetic about it and not have to go into a 10-hour, litany of apology because I'm saying no.
Wow.
That was a bonus question. So thank you for giving. Oh, we appreciate that.
And thank you for saying yes to us, because this has been a dream come true. To be able to look at your face and hear from you directly is such a gift. And we know your time is so valuable. And we're happy that, a lot of things you said you wouldn't listen to. But I'm glad that, and I know Brooke is glad that you listen to your voice that is putting words on paper that rub people the wrong way, but they need to be heard. And you do it so beautifully. And you being on this podcast and us showing the parenting map is going to change generations to come. I'm so overwhelmed with gratitude right now because it's going to help kids feel seen and like they can be themselves. And that's why we created this in the first place. So thank you so much for writing this, for being here, and for your time.
Thank you. And you have to know that because you're so moved, that's why you will change, your children will change, and you will help her change, and then she'll help. So I need women to be moved like you. So I'm so grateful to you because it's women like you who have made this message become a global movement. So thank you for spreading the word. I need you. Please go ahead and help me, because I'm not ashamed to say I need more people like you, because when you experience it in your life, you are the best ambassador of this message.
Oh, wonderful. Well, we always end every episode with a piece of gold, which is a quote, which we have a ton of them in your book. All right. And to sign off with Dr. Shefali, this is a paragraph from the Parenting Map, page 141. The parts within us that have been rejected, disavowed, and abandoned don't just disappear. They are simply buried deep inside of us. When we see them rise up in our children or others we love, we become extremely triggered and try to do those parts what we have done to our own. Our own past wounds wash over us with such pain that we enlist our ego with a furor. Our ego roars to the scene with great velocity and attempts to drown out our inner pain by lashing against our children's pain. Instead of connecting to their pain and seeing it for what it is, separate from us, we thrash against our children with control and degradation, and they end up feeling unseen and invalidated. The tragedy is that we don't even realize what we are doing. This all happens unconsciously. Such is the power of unresolved inner pain. This is Gold Ivy signing off.
Listen to your truth and go chase your gold. We want to thank you and encourage you to celebrate yourself for taking the time to learn and get inspired in your one beautiful life. And if this podcast means something to you, it would mean so much to us if you'd be willing to take 30 seconds to help support our mission to keep bringing you inspiring stories and guests.
First, following the podcast is important because it helps you never miss an episode. To do this, just go to the Ivy Unleashed podcast show page on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts, and then just tap the plus sign in the upper right-hand corner or click on follow.
While you're there, if you'd be so kind to give us a 5-star rating and review and share your favorite episode with a friend, we'd be so grateful for your support.
We are thrilled you're here and are so happy that you're taking time to prioritize your wellness, self-discovery, and growth with us.